Welcome to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Jones. I am a certified personal trainer, and I'm here to help you achieve your fitness goals without pain. In each episode, I'll share tips and strategies that will help you stay safe and pain-free while you're working out. I'll also interview experts in the field of fitness and pain management. So if you're ready to learn how to stay active and pain-free, then subscribe to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast today. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Jones, and today I am joined by DJ Leveille. He is an engineer, fitness lover, and founder of MGNX Activewear. When he learned about EMF risks from wireless headphones, he set out to create a stylish workout gear that keeps you protected so that you can move pain-free and confidently. His mission fits perfectly with what we talk about on the podcast, so I figured, hey, why not have him on and have a discussion so that way athletes can train smarter and safer. So welcome to the show.
Hey, Dana, thank you. And thank you to all your listeners for tuning in.
So tell me, what inspired you to have a focus on EMF safety? And, well, maybe for a lot of people, what is?
All right, EMF, so it's electromagnetic frequency, or you might see electromagnetic fields. You might see it as RF, radio frequency. Basically, it is a spectrum of electromagnetic waves that it's all around us. Some of these are natural and some of these are man-made. The main difference is your natural EMFs are non-polarized. That means they're not kind of forced into a single plane. I don't want to get too technical.
Right.
Then you've got your man-made. These are polarized, so they're structured into a single plane. Think of radio waves. Think of cell phone signals. Your microwave is what cooks and nukes your food. Is a form of electromagnetic frequency, and that's kind of on the lower end, the less energy, longer wavelengths. Again, smaller frequency. And then you've got the stuff that I think most people are aware of as being a little dangerous. You've got your X-rays, gamma rays. These things can do a lot of damage. That's why you go to the dentist and you get like your teeth X-ray. They put that big lead suit on, or they go into the next room. But even things like light, ultraviolet light, is a form of electromagnetic frequency. And your UV, that's the dangerous form. Then you have your visible light, less dangerous, but it's a spectrum of just invisible yet can impact the human body.
So how did you learn about this and the idea of EMF safety?
So I'm an engineer by trade, mechanical engineer. So I work with mechanical, electrical things, kind of a tech geek. I think I was one of the first people I knew that when the first iPhone came out, had to get one. So I'm kind of aged myself, but I like gadgets, I like technology, but I was also a student athlete, and I've always worked out. That was something that I think my dad instilled in all of us in the household. We like to work out. He put gonna age myself again. I don't know if you remember the Solo Flex. We had one of those back in the day. Loved working out. I ran a little bit of track in middle school, high school, a little bit in college as well. I went to Temple University, go Owls. So those things kind of intersected. So even after I graduated and I got to, working in the industry, I became more aware of what electromagnetic frequency was. I worked on things like generators and other electromechanical devices. So I knew what it was. And then I don't know if you remember when the Beats by Dre wireless headphones came out, right? Like I said, I always enjoyed working out. And when I would work out, I'd spend a good 1-2 hours in the gym, but I'd have to have my headphones on. And that used to be the wired earbuds. But when the wireless ones came out, I jumped on that quick, right? No one likes getting tangled up in your cords. And
Not at all.
long story short, one day just in the gym, it happened to be a pretty long session. I was in there maybe 2.5 hours. I had my cell phone in my pocket the whole time, had my headphones on the whole time. I felt a little lightheaded. It might have just been I was in there too long, but I just got curious and I just got to thinking, is it safe for me to have this wireless kind of signals around me for so long. And I just went down a rabbit hole and found a lot of interesting research about cell phones and a lot of studies that competing results. Like some say it's safe, some say it's not. Then I got, then just thinking about even cell phone towers, how safe those are. And there's a lot of controversy about how close you need to be to those, because all of those emit a lot of EMF radiation. So I think what really did it for me and made me think, okay, maybe there's something here is when there's a website I like called Environmental Health Trust. That's where I started to go to for a lot of that sort of information. And they had a lot of information about cell phones in general. Because that's just ubiquitous. We all carry our cell phones in our pockets. We carry our cell phones everywhere. And if you have an iPhone and you go into settings and you go into legal and regulatory, there's actually a blurb in there that talks about the EMF, or they call it RF, and how you shouldn't put the phone to your head and you should use kind of a hands-free device to use your phone. And when I saw that, that's when I really kind of recognized that maybe these things aren't as safe as we think they are.
So it should be okay for like the boomers that walk around on speakerphone.
Yeah. As cringe as that is, that's probably the safest way to use the cell phone.
All right. So you get this information, which is, it's something that's coming up, right? People are talking about it. I'm hearing Ben Greenfield talk about it. Joe Rogan's been talking about it for a long time. I just received something that was really weird for my tripod dog, talking about getting the mats for them to lay down and get rid of the EMF out of their system so that they could feel healthier. Because I think, dogs get x-rayed. There's a lot of things that go on that they don't have the same kind of protection that humans have. So I've seen mats. I've heard about the sheets that you can go in and de-EMF yourself or de-charge yourself or whatever. So how do you do that in clothing?
So for EMF, think about the easiest way to explain it is your microwave. Okay. And there's a couple of ways that you can actually address EMF. The method I use is blocking and shielding EMF. So if you notice all microwaves behind that glass door or the glass screen in the door, there's always a metal mesh.
Yes.
That metal mesh is what keeps the EMF waves from escaping, because electromagnetic field cannot go through metal. So that mesh allows you to kind of see your hot pocket that you're cooking, make sure things look good, but it prevents it from going through the glass because EMF could go straight through glass. So for the sheets you're talking about or the mats, it's a similar concept. There's probably a metal or metallic thread embedded in that material that you can use to block the EMF fields. So for my clothing, that's what we use. There's special fabric out there. It's a blend of, it could be cotton, polyester, any kind of standard fabric, but you can also weave in metallic thread.
Okay.
That thread acts just like the screen in your microwave door.
Okay. That makes sense. One of the things that I noticed, because I went to your website and I thought, oh, okay, this is cool. Like clothing, how does this protect me? And then I noticed that the people on the website actually had a hood up while they were working out and then had the headphones over the hood.
Right.
And at first I thought, well, that would be awkward. And then I realized, well, actually wearing headphones and working out is rough. It's kind of gross because if you get hot, then they get hot and they get sweaty. It's so gross. So actually the idea of having a hood on and then putting the headphones on there is kind of nice because it would absorb all the stuff that makes your headphones slide around or
That's
do that
right.
kind of thing.
No, that's exactly it. And the funny thing is, even prior to launching this company, I used to wear my headset like that just because, like you said, I'm a sweater. When I work out and I'm in there, I'm in there for an hour and a half, I'm going to work up a sweat. And I'm usually weight training. So what I found is when I put my hood on, I soak up all that sweat. I put my headphones on the outside of my hood, keep them fairly dry. and it does not impact the sound quality at all. And I found I'm not the only person that does it. When I walk around the gym, I see a lot of kind of the heavy workout folks. That's kind of what they do as well. So that's part of it. And if you noticed in our pockets of our hoodie, we've got that fabric as well. So the fabric that we use, we line our hoods and we line our pockets to keep the user safe from the Bluetooth coming off of their headset and to keep the EMF from their cell phones from getting absorbed into their core. So that's basically how that works. And we have a patented headset straps, because that's something I figured out early. If you're doing something like a bench press where you're lying down, headsets will pop right off.
Yeah, they go back.
So with that strap, it's all secure and keeps it lined up.
So you're raising awareness around EMF, and obviously, I mean, there's so many differences between the US and Europe. What are some of the differences that you're seeing? I mean, I know there's ton of nutritional differences in what is tolerated in Europe and what is tolerated in the United States. What are the differences? Like, do Europeans still think that this is a danger, or are they actually been aware of it and we're just late to the table?
I think it's like you said, I think we're just late to the table. I don't know if you remember, there was kind of a buzz around 5G when it came out. A lot of people were protesting. And that's kind of what they were protesting, because G, as you know, it's a stronger signal, right? But it doesn't travel as far. So it's a higher frequency. It requires more antennas. That's what keeps the signal so strong. And so there are some folks in the US aware of this. But if you check Europe, it was a much bigger sort of like hubbub. More people were up in arms about it. And that's just because I think, and you mentioned nutrition, that's a perfect kind of parallel. There's so many foods and ingredients and additives in Europe that they don't allow, that we allow here in the States. And I just think it's because a lot of these industries in the US, they have a really powerful lobbying kind of arm.
For sure.
And so I just think that sometimes these issues kind of get buried and there's not as much awareness as it is in Europe, right? And so there's a lot of controls and legislation around EMF in Europe that we just don't have here, where we can put cell phone towers, where we can put even things like wireless, Wi-Fi routers. I think in some countries like Israel, you can't put a Wi-Fi router close to children, like nurseries or kindergartens. Even in Asia, that little blurb that I mentioned in your cell phone, I think in Korea, when they sell a cell phone to you, they actually tell you that. They have to verbally warn you, like, hey, you shouldn't put your phone next to your head. You should use some kind of a wired, hands-free device to talk, or speakerphone. It's just more vocal, and the awareness, I think, is just easier in these other regions because, I hate to say it, I just think some of these, like the FCC or some of these other industries, they make it it's not as well known here in the States for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, it's the joy of being an American. Ignorance is bliss for a lot of us. So previously you had mentioned that your dad had an experience with cancer, and that has shaped who you are as a person. Do you mind sharing a little bit about why you're doing this and how he's impacted your personal responsibility?
Like I mentioned, he was always a very fit guy. He worked out quite a bit. I mean, up until he was in his 70s, he and my mom would go to the gym. But it was in his later years, he ended up getting diagnosed with cancer. It's like a sarcoma type of skin cancer. And it was rough, chemo. And I think if he weren't as healthy as he was, he wouldn't have survived as long as he did. But unfortunately, this past December, he did pass. He did make it to 90. He would have probably made it to 100 plus if it weren't for the cancer and the chemo. But that's kind of my why and what kind of pushed me to kind of keep this going, right? Because if the way I think about EMF, I think of it almost like a carcinogen, like smoking, right? Some people are probably more sensitive to it. There's folks that smoke and they'll never get lung cancer. And then there's others just through secondhand smoke, they can get lung cancer. And so for me, anything that I can do from what I know, and for me, for people who work out like us, we're trying to be healthy, right? And a lot of us just don't know that we may be exposing ourselves to something that can actually cause us harm. So I just wanted to do something that can help folks, you know, not have to deal with getting any kind of cancer, and dealing with kind of the aftermath. So that, like I said, I think my dad is a big part of the reason that I kind of.
Yeah, I think it's important to look at those kinds of things because our dads do shape us.
Absolutely.
Whether you want to believe it or not, they kind of teach us about work ethic a lot of times, and to have a really healthy person succumb to such a nasty disease is just, you don't think that, right? We're
Right.
trying to we're putting credits in the bank, right? We're trying to eat healthy, we're trying to work out, we're trying to keep all that stuff away, and
Yep.
sometimes you just can't, you don't know what's in the cards, right?
That's right. No,
And
that's exactly right.
but that's a good, dads are, as I shared with you, I had lost my dad too. And he was same thing, almost 9, just same deal, strong as an ox, worked out every day, got up and did his thing. And it definitely, he talks to me when I'm not quite feeling like I should get up and work out. And I could feel it, like, hey, he was 89 years old and working his bands and doing all that stuff to stay fit. And that's always a good motivating factor. Your dad gave you the gift of intelligence and perseverance, and I'm glad you're carrying that on for him.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So what advice do you have for us? Like, we're surrounded by this stuff, and, I know you don't want to get like alarmist and say like, get rid of your microwave, get rid of your computer. I mean, aside from the clothing, which obviously is not it's not a bad investment, right? I mean, because obviously it's a long-term investment in our health. But what other advice would you give people in terms of everything we're exposed to?
It's tough, right? Because we're in a strange age right now. There's so much information. A lot of it is disinformation or misinformation. And like you said, I don't want to be an alarmist, right? And I'm not anti technology. I'm not trying to go against like the telecommunications industry. It's just one of those things, right? Our phones and our devices, they help us with our day-to-day life, right? They're useful tools. But like any tools, there's a risk with some of these things, and some of us may just not be aware, right? Like even in, again, if you go into your settings, you'll see some of that spelled out, and if you just do a little bit of research, you'll find that there is some evidence that these things can be harmful. If you look again, I think it was France that actually banned one of the iPhone generations because the radiation level was higher than their allowable limits. And all of our devices have an allowable limit of EMF radiation. That alone tells me that they know there is some harm in getting exposed to this. So now if you just kind of just think rationally, you can tell yourself like, yeah, if I've got this stuff around me 24/7, that may not be good for me, right? So yeah, we've probably all seen some of the articles now. Put your cell phone on airplane mode if it's in your pocket. For guys, it may be affecting things like sperm count. Like a lot of this is getting more and more mainstream. So just kind of just do your due diligence. Look into this stuff, right? And now there's more and more tools and things like what I'm doing to just help you, keep you safe and give you a little bit of peace of mind.
I like that. DJ, thank you so much for joining me today. Where can people reach you?
So I'm on all the social media platforms, MGNX Activewear. The website is www.mgnxactivewear.com. Then you want to reach out, please do. And yeah, please support. Stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.